Tremolo is an extremely versatile effect that's been around for a long time. You can use it to sound classic and old school or inventive and new. And in this video, I'm going to show you everything you need to know to master both approaches. In fact, I love Tremolo so much that this video is going to have 6 pro tips instead of my usual 5. For pro tip number 1, we're going to talk about Photocell tremolos. These were built into amplifiers in the early days, and the circuit actually used a light bulb turning on and off next to a light-sensitive resistor to create the on-off volume effect of a tremolo. In the example you're about to hear, I'm using the Voyager tremolo from Spaceman FX. This is an all-analog Photocell tremolo, and if you open up the back while it's on, you can actually see the light going on and off. The coolest thing that has ever been done with the Photocell tremolo is running it after a big lush reverb. So in the example you're about to hear, my big lush reverb is the plate sound and the Space Force from Alexander Pedals. But the secret here is to run a second reverb after the Photocell Tremolo 2. In my case, I was using the Boss RV6 for its room sound. But you just want a little bit. So it goes big lush reverb before the tremolo, just a tiny bit of room reverb after the tremolo. The whole point of using the room reverb is to get some stereo information and to introduce a little bit of blurriness to the tremolo sound. If you're setting microphones, you don't even need the second reverb. You just have to make sure you have some microphones far away from the amp too to get the room. By the way, if you want to buy any of the gear in this video, I have affiliate links you can use that'll give me a small commission on anything you buy. I'll put the affiliate links in the video description. For pro tip number 2, we're going to talk about harmonic tremolos. This was another circuit that was built into amplifiers in the early days, but the cool thing about harmonic tremolos is that it would apply the on-off volume effect to your high frequencies and your low frequencies independently. So your highs and your lows would be going in and out against each other. In the example you're about to hear, I'm using the Delta II, again from Spaceman FX, as my harmonic tremolo. The cool thing about this pedal is that it lets you tweak the highs and the lows separately if you want. You can put them in phase or out of phase. And I found a setting that separates them so dramatically that it almost sounds more like a phase shifter than a tremolo. But of course, it's not a phase shifter. So if you force it to be one, it'll be one in an unusual way. For pro tip number 3, what if there was a tremolo that wasn't based on some vintage amplifier circuit? What if it was just turning your volume up and down? Well, those kinds of ultra basic tremolos have their own vibe, and they might even be my favorite. But the crucial thing is, what is the wave shape of the LFO? In other words, when your volume is going up and down, what is the curve of the up and down? And in my opinion, some curves are cool and some are not. The cool ones are square, rectangle, pulse, and sawtooth. And this is what they sound like. Square, rectangle, pulse, sawtooth. The Strymon Mobius has all of those available. In fact, sometimes I think the Strymon Mobius is almost worth its price entirely just for its ability to let you design your own tremolo effect. It can also set any tremolo to be BPM specific, which is super useful to me. Anyway, the thing I like to do the most is to take a very glitchy pitch effect or fuzz effect and then run it into a choppy tremolo in the Mobius because it creates this very low-tech synthesizer sound I love. What you're about to hear is me running the ZVEX Fuzz Factory into a rectangle tremolo. If you've ever messed with ring modulation, you might have noticed that most ring modulators have a spot where they don't really sound like they're doing ring mod. It sounds like they're doing tremolo. And then if you turn up the frequency shift, the tremolo will give way to the weirder bell-like thing we know as ring modulation. So pro tip number 4 is there is a sweet spot in there, right in between where it sounds like it's doing ring mod and it sounds like it's doing tremolo, in that like middle zone. There's a lot of beautiful stuff you can get. So for the example you're about to hear, I'm using the Randy's Revenge from Fairfield Circuitry. This is my ring modulator, but I have it set to be right in between tremolo world and ring modulation world, and I'm using an expression pedal, and I'm using an expression pedal that's always the killer in these videos. I can never say that the first time. Using an expression pedal to continually tilt it in one direction or the other. So it's like always moving across the sweet spot. But I'm not using just any expression pedal to do it. I'm using the side step. This does what expression pedals do, but you can set it to run continuously by itself. This is what that sounds like. For pro tip number 5, we're going to talk about pattern tremolos. These are ones that just take the on-off volume effect we know and love from tremolos and then run it in some kind of rhythmic pattern or like in a syncopated way. The Strymon Mobius can do this, but in the example you're about to hear, I'm using the Boss Slicer, the SL2. My single favorite thing to do with the Boss Slicer is to run it after the Syntax Air from Alexander Pedals. Syntax error might be my single favorite pedal of all time. In this particular case, I was using it as a pitch shifter and a reverb, and it was producing this just really great cloud of like glitchy musical information that was then getting chopped up rhythmically by the slicer. My last pro tip has to do with unstable tremolos. The Chroma console can do this. There's a tremolo in here, and it has a parameter that will introduce like random jittery mess ups to the tremolo. It can like make it unstable in a way that's really cool. I first discovered this effect and realized that I loved it with the syntax error, again from Alexander Pedals. This pedal has a sequencer in it, and one of the sequencer parameters is called space. And if you turn up space, it'll introduce this like weird, unstable, rhythmic interruption to what you're playing. And that is a gold mine. It can introduce some really interesting lo-fi weirdness into whatever you're playing. So for what you're about to hear, I'm sending the Vongon replay synth into the syntax error. And just to make it even more like lo-fi complete, I was running the replay synth into the lo-fi junkie from ZVEX effects into the syntax error, and this was doing an unstable tremolo thing.